Welcome, everyone, to the Joe. We're at the Joe Walton Stadium here on the campus of Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh for Robert Morris Colonials lacrosse. The women embark on their home opener here today. They fell in the season opener at Ohio State last week and now get things started at a home field which has been very kind to them in recent years. More on that as we continue. Today's opponent will be the Canisius Golden Griffins, a non-conference battle. Robert Morris in the MAC conference, Canisius out of the MAAC. And so non-conference battle here in Pittsburgh between these neighbors, separated by a few hours. Canisius coming from Buffalo. They were delayed a little bit due to weather. That's why we're starting a half an hour later than expected. Welcome, everyone. Garo Von Dane here, joined alongside by my partner today, Mr. Nathan Breisinger. And Nathan, good to be back here at home, a place that the Colonials have loved playing in recent years.
Yeah, great to be back home. Colonials have really thrived on their home turf in the past few seasons. 17 straight games they have won here at the Joe, dating back to 2019. So a huge opportunity to right their wrongs from last week when they lost 17-5 in Ohio State.
Yeah, that was a tough game on the road, but a great way to get things started with a tough battle against stiff competition. And now they go against a Canisius team that overall has dominated the Colonials in their history. But the Colonials got their first win over Canisius in their most recent meeting a couple years ago. And that was after Canisius won the first 9 meetings, I believe, between these two programs. But it's been a different Robert Morris club the last few years.
Yeah, 9-1, as you said, dating back to 2005. This matchup goes. And last week, Canisius got out with a win to start the season against Bucknell, winning 14-12. So they're looking for 2 in a row, and the Colonials are looking for their first win.
Colonials will take the opening draw and race in. Right to left they go across your screen. Robert Morris in the grays with the blue and red trim, and a shot right off the draw, and it's stopped by goaltender Shannon Maroney. Number double zero for Canisius. Shannon Maroney, the 5'3" senior from Rocky Point, New York. And the Colonials try to strike immediately off the draw, but Maroney makes the save. And now Canisius will go on offense as Maroney puts it in play across midfield, but the pass is too high and a chance. Well, let's see who's going to chase it down. And the Griffs are going to get to it first as Carolyn Nettie gets to it, the sophomore from Auburn, New York. Will bring it behind the net, and Jamie Keller in goal. Her second career start. The senior who had to be very patient behind arguably the greatest goaltender in Robert Morris history, Caitlin Miller, who graduated after last season. And now Jamie Keller, who appeared in 24 games her first 3 years, but got her first start against Ohio State last week as Robert Morris goes on the attack here. Scoreless, just 1:10 gone here in the first half.
A big key for today compared to last week is the Colonials just did not get off to a quick start. Ohio State was all over them. So this time around, Robert Morris looking to get on the offensive and get a goal early here. They went down quickly 4-0 last week. And, I mean, basically any time a Robert Morris attacker got the ball, there was 4 Buckeyes all over them.
Yeah, they were down 8-1 in that game, and you're just not going to come back down 8-1 against a squad like Ohio State. Canisius, a very good team as well. They are under a new head coach this year. Russell Allen in his first season. Meanwhile, Robert Morris led by Katrina Silva in her 5th year, 10th overall at RMU, but her 5th as the head coach. And what a career she's had here at Robert Morris.
And a lot of turnover this year as well. I mean, going to be a difficult year for her team.
Ooh, a backhanded scoop shot that beats Keller. Keller was late getting back into her crease. She was playing way out, and the scoop shot gets past the Colonial defense and beats Keller, and Canisius strikes first, and they take a 1-0 lead.
A quick transition there, too, because the Colonials just were in the offensive side of the field, and quickly Canisius made their way up and took Keller by surprise a little bit there. A little bit of a scoop shot, as you mentioned, being able to beat the goalkeeper.
Well, comes with 12:50 to go in the first half, and Megan Hoffman gets credited with the Canisius goal. So the Griffs strike first here. Megan Hoffman out of New York. And just a bit of a defensive breakdown there for Robert Morris. And Keller was racing back into her crease and had just enough time to turn around. And was unable to stop Hoffman's shot. And some tight defense on the near sideline, so that's going to stay with Robert Morris. Carrying it up the near sideline was Jordan Anderson, the junior out of Savage, Minnesota.
Megan Hoffman last year had just 1 goal for the Golden Griffins, but this year, early on, getting some tallies on the board.
RMU breaks back in, trailing 1-0 here on a windy, cold afternoon in Pittsburgh. High winds. So some tough conditions to play in here, but we get that this time of year.
Yeah, there was that early snow. That's why the game was pushed back. Currently 24 degrees with winds at 26 miles per hour. So some difficult conditions down there for these Colonials and for Canisius as well.
It's like fighting through a tornado from the parking lot. Goes behind the net. RMU cycling their offense, looking to get on the board. Turning shot and a save made. The rebound, though, in front, and another save. Back-to-back saves for Maroney.
Jerica Obi with that first shot, really nice turn and shoot, and then Jenna Irwin picking up the rebound and couldn't beat the goalkeeper either.
Yeah, Irwin in great position to get that rebound and really had a golden opportunity, but Maroney with 3 early saves for Canisius. And she'll send it upfield to Carolyn Nettie. And the Griffs with a 1-0 lead will head upfield with it. Here at Joe Walton Stadium in Pittsburgh, great to have you with us wherever you're tuning in from. Robert Morris Colonials lacrosse. They throw it underneath into the high slot, and the bounce shot actually is way off the mark and hits one of the Colonials and hurt her a little bit as Haley Mosey.
Yeah, Skylar MacArthur went in there hard for Canisius, knocked over a Colonial defender, and then that ball just fired away.
A little bounce shot well off the mark. She wasn't expecting to get hit with that shot. A little bit of space here, moving into the high slot, then backing out is Anthony. Anthony will send it behind the cage. The wind just whipping through here at Robert Morris University. Outside the arc, along the goal line, they go behind the net. RMU looking to get on the board here. Good position and the finish. The twisting, turning shot from Julia Cotter was the junior from Hagerstown, Maryland, and RMU ties it at 1.
A beautiful pass in front, and then she's able to just spin away and get herself some space and an opportunity, and just beats Shannon Maroney. A very, very nice move and nice shot by Cotterwas there.
Colonials needed that goal. Gets that goose egg off the board. And we got a tie game here, 1-1. Robert Morris trying to keep alive this long home winning streak, 17 straight games. Their last loss here was in February of 2019. I remember that game against the Liberty Flames. Flames came back to win that one, but that was the last time this Colonial team would lose here at Joe Walton Stadium.
Yeah, they've thrived on this turf, and so far this game has gone back and forth with 10 minutes left to go in the first quarter.
Second year in the MAC for the women's program. They dominated the MAC last year, went unbeaten in the conference. And they're picked to win it again this year.
And as I was mentioning earlier with Katrina Silva this year, last year had a team full of graduate seniors, and this year had large turnover where she's having younger players fill their roles. But that team that won the MAC last year had a lot of players that showed up on winning MAC awards. As we mentioned, Caitlin Miller, she goalkeeper of the year. Mackenzie Gandy, Melanie Gandy, both on the first team all conference. A lot of players up and down those award nominees, so a lot of turnover.
Tough to lose those Gandy sisters. Madison Griffin with a great interception, creating the turnover for Robert Morris. Mackenzie Gandy was just so much fun to watch the last few years. All-time leading scorer in Robert Morris history. And his sister Melanie Gandy was incredible too, and we mentioned Miller, the goaltender, so a lot of holes to try and fill on this Robert Morris team this year. One of the bigger challenges Katrina Silva's had in her 5 years as head coach.
And for the twins of Mackenzie and Melanie, they both played different roles. Mackenzie was the one that shot a lot and had it scored a lot of goals. And then you had Melanie, who was a playmaker and found people open and assisted a lot of those goals. And I had a chance to talk to them last year, and they just said on the field they just have that twin telepathy where they just were able to connect and find each other.
Yeah, playing together their entire lives. And you see that in the sport of lacrosse more than any other, where you see a lot of siblings playing together. 8:40 to go here in the first. And the Colonials back on the board, and they have their first lead of the game out of the free position. And Robert Morris has scored back-to-back goals to take a 2-1 lead.
On the free shot as well, and that's their first lead of the season. As you just mentioned, a huge goal to put them up here, and the Colonials starting to take over in this game a little bit. A lot better offensively than they were, especially last weekend. I mean, just struggled to get over on their side on across the midfield line, and now they're up 2-1 with 8:38 to go in the first quarter.
Jonna Anthony makes it 2-1 RMU, the sophomore midfielder from Syracuse, New York. Colonials have their first lead of the game. Face it off at midfield. Good crowd here despite the cold, windy temperatures here at Pittsburgh.
Raucous crowd too. Really into it for, as you mentioned, just the cold temperatures. We're luckily sitting up here in the nice warm booth, but they're storming the weather out there. I mean, just looking down right now on the sideline, everything's just blowing around. All their jackets are going everywhere.
There's debris all over the place. It's good to be in the booth. Marty Galosi, Associate Athletic Director, calling us soft for being here in the booth. I'll take it. I'll wear that all day. Ball will stay with Canisius here as they find themselves trailing now 2-1. The Griffs took a 1-0 lead on the Megan Hoffman goal. But Connerwas and Anthony scoring for Robert Morris to give the Colonials the 2-1 advantage.
And Gianna Anthony, sophomore this year, last year in her freshman campaign, 7 goals and 7 points. So no assists, but 7 goals. She was a nice addition as a freshman to be able to add some scoring depth besides some of those graduate seniors and seniors that were on the roster.
Could be players like her that need to step things up a little bit more this year with those offensive gaps that we talked about with graduations and a shooting space. So Hoffman has a lot of room here. Stares down Keller, shoots low and bounces one wide. The Griffs pick it up, though, behind the net on a nice play to scoop up that missed shot by Souse. And in front and in, and the Griffs tie it up. And we are knotted at 2. So a good offensive possession there. A good ball movement for Canisius. They keep it alive after the missed shot and then get the equalizer, and we got a tie game.
It looked like the Colonials were going to get out of that tricky situation, but then I believe it's Smolensky that scores that one for Canisius, and she's just able to come around from behind the cage and put it in. Katie Smolensky with that goal. 17 goals last year for her and 5 assists for the senior this season.
So the Griffs come right back. And the Griffs were in a back-and-forth battle last week with Bucknell, which they wound up winning 14-12. And we're starting off to have one of those types of games here today.
And right before that goal on that free shot, Jamie Keller had nice positioning in the net, and she was able to force a shot wide. But just to go back to last week, early on, I mean, she did not make any saves to start the game. On the first, I believe, 7 shots, they all went in, but she really improved as the game went along, and now hopefully she's finding her fitting in the goal this week, and she can have a better performance than she did last week.
Well, one of the things, the Colonials did a couple of things well in that game despite the lopsided score. Really limited their turnovers in that game and were excellent on clear. Struggled on the first few, but then were great the rest of the way. So did a lot of good things after falling behind early and quickly. but battled all the way to the end, and that's what Coach Silva wants to see.
Yeah, it was a building block game for them. You're going up against a Power 5 opponent, which in years past, I mean, they were 0-4 against them, but their game in 2020, they only lost 13-8, but that was with some of those players who had graduated last year. But it was a building block game, and you saw the adjustments and improvements throughout the game.
Another nice interception by Jenna Irwin to get the turnover for RMU. And, you know, they played the Buckeyes last week. The previous game the Colonials played was in the NCAA tournament last year, and they fell to Notre Dame. So those were their last two games, Notre Dame and Ohio State.
Two very good opponents, Power 5 opponents again, as we mentioned. Notre Dame, they saw them earlier in the season as well, so they went 0-2 last year, did the Colonials against the Fighting Irish.
Colonials dominated the MAC, and you had to wonder how it was going to go in the NCAAs because the Colonials just had such an easy time through the MAC. There weren't a lot of those battle-tested type games during the year.
Yeah, and with their going 14-3 last year, their 3 losses against Notre Dame twice, and then Cincinnati, who they'll see this season as well. But when they're in their 14 wins, they outscored their opponents 241-108. They just were electrifying in those games, and from start to finish, were very solid and scored a lot of goals.
Yeah, we had a lot of mercy rule games last year, running clocks. And now a bit of a rebuild for RMU, and the Griffs strike again, and a nice feed to the back door, and with the finish is Caitlin Salson. She makes it 3-2, and the Griffs have scored 2 in a row to regain the lead.
A breakdown defensively off the free shot there. South left wide open, and a nice pass from the free shot position, and just able to beat Keller once again. And Canisius back up on top 3-2, just like that.
Well, we got a game here in Pittsburgh. Glad you can join us. RMU lacrosse against the Canisius Golden Griffins from Joe Walton Stadium here at Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh. Garo Von Dane and Nathan Breisinger here with you live on a chilly afternoon in Pittsburgh. .505 to go in the quarter. Quarters now the way it goes. No more halves in the women's game. The Griffs in their gold jerseys, with the blue numbers and the white trim.
Canisius this year returning quite a few players that were atop their stat sheet last year, but their leading point getter and goal getter, Marissa Malveso, has since moved on and graduated. 20 goals last year for the Golden Griffins, 7 assists and 27 points. So they're going to also be looking for someone to take over their top point-producing position.
Well, Skylar MacArthur a week ago, 5 goals and an assist. It's a pretty good start for her. Slapped on the turf, and it's scooped up again by Canisius. They're finding some loose balls here so far. Penoyer got that one. Really the hallmark of the Colonials under Silva has been defense. We've talked a lot about the scoring that they lost a year ago, but defense is what this Colonial team really prides itself on. And underneath and beating the defense is Canisius again. They've scored 3 in a row now as the Griffs, with a good interior offense right now, as they are clicking. And the Colonials are going to have to find a way.
Caroline Nettie with that one, slicing right through the teeth of the defense, able to get in, and a good shot from her to beat Keller. And now up 4-2, 3:46 left to go in this quarter. And as you were mentioning, the defense with her coming through, and the defense last year, they also, again, just speaking of departing players, Shay McCardle, Kelly Colegrove, and Madison Burke, a trio of defenders that were really good for this team, and another position that has to be rebuilt with some of these younger players.
Yeah, that was really a perfect storm team a year ago. All the pieces were in place, and that's why they dominated the conference and went to the NCAAs. Coach Silva, an excellent recruiter, and we're getting our first home look at the 9 new freshmen, some of which have played.
And looking at their roster, it's an interesting mix of where these players are from. You got a lot from Maryland, and then New York, a couple from Pennsylvania, some from Ohio. But when you look at Canisius' roster, basically their roster is completely built from New York players and a few from Canada. So a lot of in-state players for Canisius.
Ball defended nicely, and it kicks outside towards the numbers, but Canisius able to go get it. Kilburn finds it and keeps it alive. Good ball movement and a lot of assisted goals so far for Canisius, and that has to please head coach Russell Allen. Feed inside, knocked down, loose, and the Colonials will take it away. Haley Mosley able to scoop it up off the turf, gives it to Jamie Keller, and now RMU will put it in play. Looks like some snow is blowing in with the wind. The Colonials turn it over, and the Griffs race back in again. In transition, they've got numbers and a shooting space, so that'll stop things, and getting a free look at it will be Caitlin Salse. The wind is just insane right now.
The snow's going to add
different
impact on this game. I mean, as we saw from up here in the booth, it just came in a wave. Going to change some things down there on the field.
It's not going to really favor either team. They're both cold weather teams. It'd be different if Colonials were playing Liberty again, or somebody from the warmer climates. Men's lacrosse in action today against Stony Brook on the road. The women, incidentally, will have a really early conference opener as this Wednesday they begin conference play. And inside and getting the shot and beating Keller for the goal. The Griffs score again, and Canisius rolling right now. You got to wonder if Coach Silva's going to use one of her timeouts.
And that time again, Caroline Nettie getting in there and finding the back of the net. She was just cutting in with some speed and just released a shot that beat Keller. And Nettie with 2 on the day so far, putting the Griffs up 5-2.
Comes with minute 53 to go in the quarter, and that's 4 in a row for Canisius. They take a 5-2 lead after RMU led 2-1. And they're just converting. They're getting long offensive attack zone pressure, good passing, and high percentage shots inside.
And one of the things hurting the Colonials right now is those loose balls. They can't seem to pick them up right now in the offensive zone when the Golden Griffins are on offense, and that's just hurting them. The Griffins are getting a couple more chances once they do that. They're just being opportunistic with the ball once they get it back.
Ball awarded to the Colonials after the draw as Kathleen Kelly will bring it across, and they turn it back over again, though. Carrying it in for Canisius is Riley Davis. And Davis will wait for offense to gather.
Riley Davis is a threat. 19 goals last year. Have to keep an eye on her, keep her in check.
Colonials need to guard the outside of that crease area a little better. Underneath, and another open look underneath. Great find from up top. And then right next to the cage, Smolensky with the finisher. And the Griffs are converting at a rate we haven't seen here at home in quite some time.
And a lot of these goals from Canisius, besides one, I believe, coming off of quick passes. Really good ball movement by Canisius so far. And Smolensky, a quick catch and release right down there beside the goal cage, basically beating Keller before she can get to that side of the net.
Tough start for Keller. She has faced a lot of shots. And it's 6-2 Griffins with a minute 13 to go, first quarter.
And Keller, just her second start of her career struggling a little bit early on, trying to get from side to side. And she's a Pittsburgh native from Peters Township High School, local product for the Colonials.
Colonials create the turnover, though, and they needed that one. The Griffs have been scoring on each possession lately. And RMU will bring it upfield. And Anthony. Colonials will take it behind the net. You can't get 4 at once here. You just got to pick one up. Anthony with it. Back behind the cage. 50 seconds to go in the quarter. High it comes to Boyle. Boyle will drop it off. It's dropped, though, and Canisius will take it away, but a push is called. So it'll stay with Robert Morris. Dropping that ball was Anthony, but she gets it back. 6-2 Canisius in front. Colonials will try to get one here as the first quarter winds down. Double teamed inside was Christensen. The ball was dislodged, but it'll stay with RMU. And she will get a look here against the 5'3" goaltender Shannon Maroney. $19 on the first quarter clock. She'll move in, shoot wide. Will stay with Robert Morris. Still 12 seconds to go. Colonials set up their offense once again. Looking to get one here late before the quarter expires. 3 seconds to go. They throw it in front, but it's too high for the intended target, and the clock will run out, so the Colonials cannot get a good look at the net. And what a first quarter for Canisius. They score 5 in a row to close out the quarter, and they have been stifling on defense. And the Griffs will go into the first break with a 6-2 lead. Back to the Joe in a moment. Ready to go second quarter here in Pittsburgh. Garrow Von Dane, Nathan Breisinger here with Robert Morris Women's Lacrosse as they fall behind Canisius 6-2 after 15 minutes of play. And so far it's been all Griffs.
Yeah, 4 different chapters in these games for the Colonials each quarter. Let's see what this chapter here in the second quarter brings for them. Need to improve in a lot of different facets of the game right now.
Coach Silva is masterful at adjustments, and we'll see how her adjustments work here going into the second quarter, and Canisius will win the draw as it's held onto by Paige Statura, but the Colonials force the turnover. And here they come racing in. Gianna Anthony. Anthony is forced outside and will carry it all the way behind the net as the Colonials get their offense set up. Not a lot of good looks for RMU so far, and there's the quick shot, but it was blocked outside. They got the pass in underneath to Tift, and her turning shot trying to whip one towards the cage as the cage almost blew over just now with the wind. The goalposts we were talking about during the break swinging and swaying.
I'm waiting for one of their jackets to come flying off the sideline onto the field of play. They're moving around down there. But the Colonials, as you mentioned, just really unable to convert on some of these plays. A pass in there to Tift just a moment ago. She was unable to corral it, and that's just been some of the issues with the Colonials so far this game. Compared to Canisius, been able to move the ball well inside. Colonials really haven't. They've done a lot of individualistic moves to try to get in and create some space, but haven't been able to move the ball well or get really any shots thus far besides these 2 goals.
Yeah, not used to seeing teams score so easily against Robert Morris. But just 1 quarter of play. And as you said, we'll see what this chapter brings here. Minute and a half gone, second quarter. And Canisius with the ball in Robert Morris territory. Hoffman goes outside, and it's going to skip off a stick and will sail out of bounds. It does. So it's Robert Morris' ball. The good defense forces the turnover, and the Colonials go back to work. It has been a while since the Colonials scored. Robert Morris led this game 2-1. But that was a long time ago. That second goal was with 8:38 to go in the first quarter. So almost 11 minutes ago.
It'll be interesting as this game unfolds to see how they do transitioning from defense to offense. Back on the back end, Madison Griffin with that nice breakup to force the turnover and get the ball up the field.
And Kelly with a lazy pass there, and they're going to have to be crisper and sharper with those passes against this Canisius defense as the Griffs force the turnover and bring it across midfield. And this 4-goal mark is a threshold certainly I've talked about in the past a lot. It's dangerous territory. 4 goals is nothing to panic over, but once you get beyond that, then you're getting into tough comeback territory, no matter how much time is left in a game.
Yeah, 4 goals isn't too far away for the Colonials, especially when I was watching the game last week against Ohio State. There was that feeling that they were still in it a little bit, even though they were down 4 goals. But
wow, and that play just trouble written all over it as the Colonials that just didn't have help back. And Canisius just pressuring on the forecheck, stole it away and got the easy goal past Keller. And you had 1 Colonial back with 2 Griffins chasing. And just unable to find anyone to give it to was Griffin. And they took it away and scored the easy goal, and it's 7-2.
Katie Smolensky with another one there. And Canisius is just being very opportunistic. Whenever the Colonials are turning over the ball, they're picking it up and they're going down and creating offense for themselves and high percentage shooting opportunities, and they're converting. Really killing the Colonials right now. Colonials basically shooting themselves in the foot. Haven't been able to adjust to some of these plays yet.
6 in a row for the Griffs. It was with 11:47 to go in the first half, and an unassisted goal for Canisius, and they have the ball again.
Smolensky already with the hat trick here in the second quarter with 11 minutes to go.
Yeah, what a half she's had so far. But really, it's just been an excellent team performance for Canisius, and Robert Morris has to find a way to make things a little tougher on the Griffs. Inside, splitting the D, getting through and scoring, and it's just too easy right now for Canisius. And that time, it's Sarah Kilburn, the freshman from Watertown, New York, and it's 8-2 Griffins.
Kilburn picks up the pass there and just cuts right into the middle and releases a nice shot from about the 5-yard line. Able to beat Keller. Keller now allowing 8 goals in this contest so far.
Well, there's only one way out of this. Colonials have to find a way to dig out. Got to start making some stops on D. And that just hasn't happened.
I mean, as you mentioned, with the Katrina Silva-led team, you would expect and hope that they would start to make some adjustments and that they would start to come back a little bit here. But right now, things aren't looking pretty for the Colonials.
Kilburn against Dulles here for the draw. These draws become huge because every time Canisius gets the ball, they are a real threat to score. And RMU in a 6-goal deficit. And who's going to come up with this loose ball off the draw? They're going to give it to Canisius. Canisius with the ball again. Ball on the turf, knocked around, and RMU can't scoop it up, but they will get the ball.
And something that the Colonials also struggled with last game in Ohio State was their draw plays. They just couldn't pick up the ball off the face-off, and that's what led to a lot of Ohio State possessions and just really killed them in the end.
RMU will get their offense going. Rupert throws it behind the cage. I don't remember the last good scoring chance Robert Morris had. It may have been the goal. And that came with more than 8 minutes to go in the first quarter. Play stopped. That goal does not count.
The last prime chance I would say they had was when Tift went in there but just couldn't hold on to the ball right there, cutting through the seam of the defense. Now she has a chance here.
Free position look. Will she look to shoot? Long stoppage here. 9:36 on the first half clock. And now we'll put it in play. She's going to look to shoot, and she's stopped again by Maroney. Maroney has piled up some saves here in this game, and the Colonials continue to struggle to find the net, but they do force the turnover. They'll put it back into play. Haddon goes behind the net. RMU in desperate need of a goal. They get it in front, but the ball is dropped. Oh, they get the good look inside to Irwin, but she can't hang on. She was in great position to score, but just did not pull it in cleanly.
Colonials finally starting to get better positioning inside the defense, but then yet again, just unable to hold on to the ball, dropping it right in prime scoring opportunity.
So Canisius back upfield with it. And a 6-goal lead here at Joe Walton Stadium. The Colonials have gone now nearly 15 minutes since their last goal. Meanwhile, the Griffins, 7 in a row.
The Griffins just trying to survey and find their way into the defense right now. Colonials playing a little bit better here, keeping them to the outside so far on this possession.
Still 22 to shoot. They misfire on the pass, but Griffs will be able to scoop it up. MacArthur gets to it. MacArthur turns away from a defender, now picks up a double team. MacArthur has it dislodged, but it's against RMU, so it'll go back to MacArthur. And she'll put it in play with 6 on the shot clock. She'll move in, shoot from deep, and a save there for Keller, who needed that one.
Strong stop to get the stick down there for Keller. She made a couple of those as the game moved forward last week. She's going to have to make a lot more of those today if she wants to help her team get back into this game.
Let's see if the Colonials can get a lift out of that defensive stoppage. They'll bring it in, send it behind the net. Good defensive slide over, though, by Ellis. Man, do the Colonials need one here. That's not the shot they were looking for.
That one was headed way over the net too, but Maroney able to get her stick up there and grab that. But last week, Colonials, another thing that just hurt themselves was a lot of their grade A opportunities. They would shoot it high or away from the net, just let it sail over the net, especially on some of the free position shots. And we've seen that already today as well, a couple shots that have gone wide.
And that one just looked to be forced, too. Colonials had time. They had their offense set up, and that's just not a high percentage shot. Need some assisted goals. We'll need any kind of goals right now for RMU. 6:43 to go in the second quarter. And a long scoring drought for RMU and a timeout for Canisius right now. So the Griffins are going to use a timeout. And RMU is going to look for some answers. They trail it by 6, 6:43 to go in the half. Back to the Joe here in just a moment. RMU trailing Canisius 8-2 here in the second quarter. It's been all Griffins here at Joe Walton Stadium, and the home fans not used to seeing this RMU team trailing here at home. Now that's what they're doing, and the Colonials have a big hole to dig out of, but a lot of time to do it.
Still a lot of time left in this game, but a 17-game home winning streak is on the line in this one. And Canisius has them on the brink right now. I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of time left, but really the Colonials have not been able to muster really any great opportunities.
Got a defensive stop last time. Going to try and get another one here against Canisius. Got to find something to build on. And usually defense is the way they do it. The Griffins with possession. The ball, a little misfire there, but the Griffs able to scoop it up. Alexandra Pound got to that one. Colonials again, though, keeping the action to the outside so far. Still 30 seconds to shoot, and the Colonials force the turnover. So back-to-back good defensive possessions. RMU, that time it was Anthony making the play. And the Colonials will head upfield with it.
Canisius has got a lot of favorable bounces on those ground balls, especially in the offensive side of things. But there, Gianna Anthony in nice position to pick that one up and switch this thing, go moving up the other way of the field.
Good scoop there, going down to one knee to make the play by Jordan Anderson. You need smart shot selection here on this possession. Colonials are going to feel 20 pounds lighter if they can get one. Sending it around outside. They'll step inside the hash. Face some defensive pressure. The pass, though, bounces off of the stick of one of the Colonials and loose, and the Colonials catch a break there on some head contact. And it'll stay with RMU. Jordan Anderson will put it in play. She'll back it out. Still 30 seconds to shoot. RMU behind the net have not scored since about 6.5 minutes into this game.
Emily Kim there coming out and turning, looking for the pass to Bailey Christensen, but that was almost an opportunity where she should have just shot it. She tried to look for the pass, but at this point you got to have a shoot first mentality, because if you have the pass open, but at that point her positioning was great and she got inside but just decided to move the ball instead of shooting on net.
Anthony with an aggressive move there, picks up the double team and will get the shooting space opportunity from straight away. She'll stare down the netminder Maroney. And she'll move in, shoot high and score. And the Colonials finally break the long scoring drought. Gianna Anthony, the sophomore from Syracuse, gets the Colonials back on the board, and they're within 5.
Goal number 2 for Anthony on the day. Perfect play there. Just a nice free shot opportunity for her, and she placed it perfectly above Maroney on the right shoulder and helps the Colonials get that much-needed goal to get them a little bit more confident, and that confidence needs to build as they move on here, inching towards halftime.
And even out of that free position, that was looking like the best scoring opportunity they've had in quite some time. You knew she was going to look to shoot. A lot of space from that high slot straight away, and it's 8-3. And so the Colonials put together some good defensive stops, and now a good offensive possession. Realized with a goal at the end from Anthony, her second of the game. And let's see if they can continue this turnaround going into the half. Still 3:48 to go. Ball loose at midfield, chasing after it, and unable to scoop it up. Still no one's found it. Now Canisius will take it. And the Colonials forced the turnover. They did so without taking a penalty, and here comes Robert Morris back on the attack in transition. The drop pass. Moving in, and the double team will force the play outside. Kelsey Nelson for RMU gives it off. Obi will take it now. They'll go outside, and the ball is dislodged. It's rolling to the back of the end zone, and it's turned over to Canisius. And confusion, because I thought that was going to stay with Robert Morris, and Coach Silva saying the same thing, but the officials say nope. And with under 3 minutes to go, it's back to Canisius.
The parents and fans in the stands letting the refs know, too, that they're displeased with that decision of giving the ball to Canisius. But the Colonials getting a little bit more physical and causing some turnovers. Jordan Anderson on the last one until they turned it over themselves.
Another defensive stop here would be big for RMU. They put together a few, and that ball, was there contact? I didn't see the contact, but I was a little bit screened by the Canisius player. Carolyn Nettie with the ball. And Nettie will put it in play. Tries to get it inside. A dangerous pass there with a Colonial defender on tight, but Canisius able to find that loose ball. Canisius done a good job of getting to those loose balls here this whole first half. Been impressed with their play today.
Yeah, Canisius coming on really strong today compared to a 14-12 game last week for them and their win. But they've had the Colonials' numbers over the years, and they have it today so far.
Colonials get a big steal and then turn it right back over again. So we'll have to make another stop as we get late in the half.
And with it being an 8-3 game, you're looking at it and thinking, well, Canisius has this one pretty good right now with the 5-goal lead, but it's still really in the Colonials' hands to come back. They have the opportunity. They have a lot of time left with 31 minutes remaining in this contest. A lot of time to get back in this one. And 5 goals, not too large of a margin in lacrosse.
No, not with the way the Colonials have played the last few minutes, too. And they forced the turnover here, so that's big. You know, even if the Colonials go down to the half, down 5, they've still started to shift the tides a little bit here in the last few minutes, and they have some things to build on. And they've put together some good defensive efforts. And just got to find a way to get some better shot selection and some more goals. 28 seconds to go here in the half as they try to bring it upfield, but Canisius making it tough on them.
And last week, with the way the first half went for the Colonials, they really struggled. But one of the things that was a bright spot for them was in the second half, the differential was only 5-2 instead of a very large margin in the first half. And that was just, again, the Colonials adjusting as the game went along and improving. And that's what they're going to look to do here heading towards halftime.
RMU trying to get it upfield here. Love to get one here late. 13 seconds to go. Shot is deflected from behind, but it'll stay with Robert Morris. And Rupert will put it in play with, well, the clock's running. They're going to have to put some time back on the clock. Or are they? No, that's the half. That's the end of the half. So no shot coming at the end of the half, but the Colonials get a collection of stops here late in the second quarter, and they find themselves down 5 at the half, but some things to build on going to the second half, so don't go anywhere. Colonials in the thick of it here, but trailing to a very good Canisius team, 8-3 at the half. Garo Vonday, Nathan Breisinger. We'll be back with the second half in just a bit. You're watching Robert Morris University Lacrosse here at RMU. Ready to go here, Joe Walton Stadium on the campus of Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh. Garo Von Day, Nathan Breisinger here with Robert Morris Women's Lacrosse hosting Canisius. The Colonials with a 17-game home winning streak on the line. And Canisius has an 8-3 lead as we start half number 2. The Colonials win the opening draw. And the Colonials doing some good things down the stretch despite that 5-goal deficit, as they got some good stops against this Canisius team that was just rolling along. It scored 7 straight goals. There's some contact inside, and this will be an opportunity here for Jenna Irwin and RMU to get back on the board.
That started right off the draw was the fastest they've looked all game, and that's an encouraging sign, especially with them trailing by 5 goals here, trying to get back in this contest.
Quietly, they've kept Canisius off the board now for a good long while. As we talked about a lot in the first half, the Colonials like to do things on defense. And there they get the goal and back on the board offensively as Irwin scores out of the free position. And so, Robert Morris now with back-to-back goals going back to the first half and have held Canisius off the board for a good while. And it's an 8-4 game, and the Colonials with momentum.
Jenna Irwin taking advantage of that free shot position. And the Colonials last week scored 3 times off of the free shot out of their 5 goals. But a lot last week against the Buckeyes, a lot of times they would have those opportunities. And again, a lot of missing the net there. But this time, Irwin connects.
And RMU has held Canisius off the board now for almost 11 and a half minutes. And this was a Canisius team that just couldn't be stopped. We're seemingly scoring on every possession. And they're going to award this one to Canisius. So the Griffs go back on the attack offensively. In an 8-4 game, RMU trying to inch their way back in this one. Griffins will set it up as they go left to right here across your screen. As we start half number 2. On a windy, cold day in Pittsburgh.
As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Canisius 9-1 all-time against the Colonials. But 4 of those games coming and being decided by 1 goal, with the most recent one being 11-10, which is a common score amongst this series as they've finished these games 3 times, finishing with an 11-10 score.
Colonials get another stop. Keller making the save that time on Megan Hoffman. And so, RMU continues to play well defensively.
A nice down-low save by Keller there, too, helping out her team here. And she's going to play a pivotal role as they claw back into this thing. Need to make some big saves down the stretch.
Yeah, they definitely need more saves like that from Keller. 13:39 to go. Third quarter.
And Garrett, one thing that's been quite noticeable this game, a lot of the younger players factoring in for the Colonials. Gianna Anthony, 2 goals. Jenna Irwin, the freshman, just scored. And Julia Cotterwas, a junior, has scored. But none of their top players who you expect to see, producing some goals haven't really connected. Jordan Anderson, I think Mackenzie Bell has an opportunity to be really good this year. Kelly Flynn as well. And Kelsey Nelson, all of them just haven't really touched the ball much either in prime opportunities and positions.
Yeah, RMU's had to work really hard for every goal they've gotten today. Nothing's come easy for them. Anderson with it. Tries to go underneath, but threw it right to a Canisius defender. And I'm not sure what she was looking at there, but it went right to a Griffin in front of the net, but the Colonials forced the turnover. A nice scoop by Cotterwas. Throws it inside, and she's stood up about 12 yards out, so it'll stay with Cotterwas. 5'7" junior from Hagerstown, Maryland. Can RMU pick up another one here? Well, that's Flynn with it. Drops it off now to Tift. Tift goes outside where it's dropped by Anthony, but she's able to go chase it down. Trying to cut that lead to 3 here. Wide open look in the shooting space. And so the Colonials will get a good look here. Jordan Anderson, the junior from straight away. Has a lot of room here. Also has an opportunity to pass it to the left wing. Let's see what she elects to do here. She has Tift open, shot it wide. And it's Canisius' ball, so opportunity missed. And thought she might give it to Tiff there, but instead took the shot and missed the net sidearm shot. And so Canisius will take over.
Anderson, like you said, had several options there on the free shot, but one of the more talented players on this Colonials roster last year, named to the All-MAC first team All-Conference. And she was a huge role in this team last year as well. 16 goals, had an assist along with that. Expecting a little bit more out of her from that free position shot, hoping that she would connect on it.
Kathleen Kelly makes a nice interception on the long ball upfield, and in the process, Megan Hoffman takes the card, and she will sit. So RMU up a player, with Kelly ready to put it back into play.
Katrina Silva trying to get in some last-second substitutions, bring in Jerica Obi and for Jordan Anderson here on the woman up advantage.
Colonials trailing 8-4, 11:37 to go in the third quarter. But they have shifted the momentum in this game. And they'll throw it upfield. Now Tift swings it outside. Canisius' defense, though, making things tough for the Colonials to get the ball inside, and the ball is just dropped. They had the player in the high slot, but the ball was dropped. Colonials, too many missed opportunities like that today. When goals are so hard to come by, you can't let those chances pass by.
And Caitlin Saul's getting that one back after she had dropped it without even looking. It was almost like a wide receiver in football turning her head away before she even caught the pass, but Canisius was able to get it back.
Colonials force another turnover, though, and continue to play good defense, but misfire on the pass, and the loose ball will be picked up by Canisius. Oh, goodness. And the Colonials, though, catch a break as Canisius misfires and RMU takes over again.
A really sloppy series right there, back and forth. No one able to maintain possession.
Both coaches pulling their hair out right now, and RMU will try to put a stop to this sloppiness with a goal.
Just some of the fundamentals of lacrosse right now evading both of these teams in the past few minutes.
Free position chance, moving in, going to walk all the way and try and score, just kind of running out of room. The save was made, but the flag is in the air as Maroney, too many steps, and shot that right into Maroney's goal cross. But it's going to go back to RMU. Another chance.
Same spot.
And Obi with the look from outside the hash. And this time she'll hold on, then spin it underneath, and that is an excellent goal for RMU. Well executed, and Kelly Flynn slides inside undetected, and the quick catch and release for the goal.
There's Kelly Flynn. We were just talking moments ago about her really not calling her name at all this game, and just a beautiful setup. Obi, instead of going straight on, decides to move to her right, finds Flynn cutting in, and a beautiful catch and release to the side of Maroney able to get the Colonials to an 8-5 deficit now, clawing their way back, and now we're starting to see some of the ball movement instead of, especially on those free shots, instead of just shooting right on like Anderson did a few moments ago, and then Obi right before that, and now Canisius is going to call a timeout.
Canisius going to use a timeout. The Colonials inching their way back. It's now an 8-5 game. 10:02 to go, third quarter. We'll be back to the Joe in just a minute. So the Griffs use another timeout. They have been held scoreless for almost 16 minutes of play now after opening up an 8-2 lead. The Colonials have put together 3 in a row, not in quick succession by any means, but they've scored the last 3 in this game to make it 8-5. They've missed out some opportunities, though. Both coaches have to be frustrated right now with different things.
Neither of these teams able to get any back-to-back goals quickly in rapid succession, but these goals instead coming sporadically throughout the game. As you mentioned, a long drought right now for Canisius, and almost like the Colonials in the first half, their switch has turned off. They're looking to turn it back on here.
Griffs go back to work offensively. They have now been in a long scoring drought, much like RMU was earlier in the game, and they misfire on the pass near side. It's going to go out of bounds and be Robert Morris' ball. My goodness, Canisius now trying to hit Skylar MacArthur just on a harmless pass. And it's too high for Skylar. And back to RMU it goes. So head coach Russell Allen for Canisius has to be wondering what's going on after things looked so easy for a good portion of this game.
And when you go up big like that here in lacrosse, you've got to worry about your teams getting complacent, and that's seems to be the issue right now. Canisius just not able to. The effort is sort of lacking, just how the Colonials had that issue in the first half, and now things are a little bit reversed, but the Colonials not in the same position now, but they're looking to get there and tie this game up sooner rather than later.
RMU had the ball. We're cycling it around, but another pass that kind of went nowhere inside. Not sure where that was. It looked like a little alley-oop pass, but nobody was there. So Canisius gets the easy turnover, and now they head the other direction with it. And Coach Silva shaking her head in disbelief. As the Colonials, they're fighting their way back here, but have had so many other opportunities that just went by the wayside with just some poor decision making. But again, this is a new Colonial team this year. The roster undergoing a lot of change. A free position here for Canisius. Keller can't stop that one. It gets through, and the Griffins break a long scoring drought. They're back on the board, and they now take a 9-5 lead. Paige Stachura finally gets the Griffs back in the score column.
Really nice release by Stachura right there. Keller hardly moved on that one. Just caught her quickly and zoomed right past Keller. Now 9-5. Canisius maybe hoping to use that goal as momentum to get ahead where they once were in this game.
Boy, that ends a scoring drought that lasted 18 minutes and 31 seconds.
And if the Colonials want to come back in this game, right now would be the perfect opportunity to have a quick goal and answer right back on that Canisius free shot goal.
Good job to win that face-off for RMU. Kathleen Kelly getting it done. Robert Morris with the ball, but trying to get it across midfield. And they'll bounce it forward. And here they come with under 7 minutes to go, third quarter. And coming from behind takes a lot out of you. So Robert Morris, they cut it to 3, now back down 4. You got to stay within this margin. If you fall back down by 5 or 6, it's just going to be a really tall order to come back in this one.
Especially going in, you want that to happen here in the third quarter before you even move into the fourth. You want them to be in the perfect position to have that opportunity to climb back and tie this game.
Ball stays with RMU. Jenna Irwin will take it from straight away. Staring down the senior goaltender, Shannon Maroney. Maroney makes the save. Stays with RMU.
Jenna Irwin was looking for her second of the game. The young freshman came up big earlier with a goal, looking for her second on the free shot chance, but just unable to put it behind the goalkeeper.
And the pass just too sharp and too high, intended for Anthony, and the Colonials throw it away, and they turn it over again, an unforced error. RMU has just had too many of those today.
The team has really struggled in some of those passes, just getting from one player to the next. Couple over the head, couple on the ground. Like you said, a lot of unforced errors, and that's what is going to be a key looking ahead and seeing what the outcome of this game is and whether or not that was a big factor.
Well, if the Colonials do not come back to win, it certainly will be one of the biggest factors. I don't know if I'd want to be in the film room for that. Shot and a save made by Keller. Big time save. And the ball back to Robert Morris.
Keller needs to be careful there. Had a Canisius player right around the goal crease hounding her before she could release it. And looking back when Robert Morris men's lacrosse played Duke a few weeks ago, Liam Rosenthal had a situation where he received a pass and went to pass it along up the field and basically just dropped it right in front of him, and a Duke player picked it up and scored. So you don't want an error like that either to happen, especially when you're trying to come back against a good Canisius team. You can't make errors like that against these good teams.
Griffins force another turnover. They lead it here 9-5. And now the Colonials in a scoring drought. They've gone nearly 6 minutes. Goals have been so tough to come by for Robert Morris today. He had just 3 goals in the first half. Good steal there for RMU. And a pass to Tiff. She drops the ball. and the Colonials turn it back over again.
Very nice play defensively by Olivia Rupert to hound the Canisius forward attacker, but as we said, another turnover, costly turnover for Tift as they were trying to get upfield.
I mean, just basic fundamentals are eluding the Colonials today. Canisius. And Colonials really dancing around trouble right now, and the Griffs with a scoring opportunity here. And the bounce shot gets through and in, and the Griffins, Alexandra Pound, scores another one. And the Griffs opening up that lead once again.
And my words I just uttered a few moments ago, talking about that turnover being costly, at that point it hadn't been yet, but it turned into a goal for the Golden Griffins there on a free shot. Just you can't have that happen when you're trying to move upfield and you have a perfect pass right there for you, and Tiff just couldn't corral it, and it leads to a Canisius goal. Can't have that happen at all when you're trying to climb back against the Griffins.
Well, up to a 10-5 game as the Griffs lead it by 5 once again. And just too many missed opportunities and turnovers for Robert Morris. And now they find themselves in a position where they cannot afford to fall any farther behind. Robert Morris has to get the next goal. 3:17 to go, third quarter. And the face-off is, are they going to do it again? Oh, they're giving it to Canisius. No, now it's back to Robert Morris.
Looked like a clean win there for Canisius, just right off the sticks of the for the two players taking the face-off right into the Canisius players' hands, but giving it to Robert Morris.
It's hard to know what those calls are on draws from up here. But RMU with the ball. 2:44 to go in the quarter, and the quick shot and the score. And wait, is it being waved off? Like waving it off on the follow-through? Looks that way. I didn't see it that way from here. But that's the call on the field. And Tift, instead of having a goal, is going to take a seat in the box. And that's a tough break for RMU. They needed that goal right there.
That could lead to a huge change in momentum. I mean, the Colonials thinking they have a goal there, but instead Colleen Tiff's going to take a seat. Huge change right there in this game, in that series right there.
And Canisius now can really take control of this game if they score on back-to-back opportunities. 10-5, Griffins here in Pittsburgh. They swing it inside, and a good high shot that beats Jamie Keller and the Griffins back in front by 6. And Canisius in the driver's seat here in Pittsburgh.
Crediting that one to Katie Smolensky for the Golden Griffins, and that was just a nice swing pass over to the left side of Keller, and really nice placement up top, high on Keller. And the Griffins aren't just shooting in one specific location. They have switched things up on Keller all game long, making it hard for her to figure out where Canisius is going to put the ball each time they shoot. Very well done job by the Golden Griffins so far with some of their shot selections.
And that looked a lot like the goals they were scoring in the first half. Good ball movement, good passing. And the finish. And that time Smolinski, another one. That's her third of the game. Makes it 11-5 Griffins. They've scored 3 in a row. All that after the Colonials worked so hard to slowly inch their way back in this game.
And as we mentioned earlier, these goals not really coming back to back, more sporadically throughout this game. But Canisius, when they've been able to get on the board, their goals have been coming in bunches. Yes, over a long period of time, but they've been streaky in this game so far. A lot of goals early that came in bunches, and then now a couple goals here to put them ahead again, 11-5.
Yeah, Canisius scored 7 in a row in the first half. And now they've scored the last 3 after the Colonials had 3 in a row. Still a minute 24 to go here in the third quarter. And play is stopped. And now, once again, we said it early in the game. You can only get one at a time, and RMU's got to look to get one here. And perhaps a stop before we go into the fourth. They're still alive, but they could really use one here. And another save for Maroney. And who's going to smother that ball? It's still loose. All the action stopped momentarily, and then Canisius came and found that loose ball.
Tony Malveso coming out of it with the Canisius after that big scrum in front. But it just seems like every time when the Colonials are on offense, a lot of whistles down on their end. But that's in part due to Canisius just being all over them. And once Canisius comes into the offensive zone, they seem to be more roaming freely compared to the way they're playing defense against RMU when RMU's on offense. Canisius just able to move the ball around, get inside, untouched.
Oh, great find, and underneath, wide open and scoring is Paige Statura. And the Griffs are rolling along here. They make it 12-5. And what a find, and that great ball movement we've seen all day from Canisius. We see it on display there.
Words materializing into actions there. I mean, just talking about Canisius, just walking freely through the offensive zone. And once again, Statura just cutting right inside, receives the pass, and then quick release with the ball beating Keller. And now it's a 12-5 game with 30 seconds to go in this quarter. Long ways to go still with 15 minutes, 30 seconds, but RMU really, really struggling right now again. Very, very similarly to that first half.
It was a great look from Samantha Detour, who found the wide open Statura. And the Griffs now with a commanding 12-5 lead. Unfamiliar territory for Robert Morris, certainly here at home. Canisius went through a long scoring drought late in the first half and into the third quarter. And Robert Morris, just too many missed opportunities and empty possessions.
Nice play by Kathleen Kelly off that draw to get them up into the offensive side of the field.
10 seconds to go in the third quarter. Can the Colonials get one here late? 5 seconds to go. Twisting in front, picking up the double team and being knocked down, but time's going to run out here in the third quarter. Colonials don't get a shot off as time expires, and they'll go into the fourth quarter trailing 12-5 to the Canisius Golden Griffins here on a cold, windy day in Pittsburgh. We'll be back to Joe Walton Stadium in just a minute. Robert Morris in a big hole here as we start quarter number 4. A 17-game home winning streak on the line here for Robert Morris, and it's going to take a lot to come back in this one. Robert Morris really had a good opportunity to do so as they inched their way back, made it a 3-goal game. It was 8-5, and Robert Morris with multiple opportunities to climb closer, but turnovers, poor shot selection, missed connections on passes. And Canisius eventually, you knew they were going to come out of their funk sooner or later, and they have done just that, and now lead at 12-5 as we start the fourth quarter.
And two different sides of the story, Garrel. We were just talking in the break. I mean, when RMU's on offense, they're locked down by the Canisius defenders. As we saw there at the end of the last quarter, 2 defenders taking on a Colonial attacker. And then when Canisius is on offense, they're just freely moving, really good ball movement, and finding people cutting in and through the defense. 2 different play styles right now going on each end of the field.
Griffins right now with possession. Oh, and good collision there. 15 yards out straight away. And taking the brunt of that one was Paige Stachura.
Not a ton of physical plays today so far, but that one, big collision there. Good to see that she's back up quickly, though.
She'll put her in play, drop it near side. They try to go back underneath to Stachura, and she didn't see it coming. And it rolls out of the back of the end zone, so it's Robert Morris' ball. They pick up a stop, and they're going to need every stop they can possibly get here in the fourth quarter if they have any hopes of coming back. Well, RMU with possession. Haley Mosey trying to bring it upfield, but being pestered by Megan Hoffman. And finally gets somebody back to help, but it skips past her. But scooping it up behind is Olivia Rupert. So Colonials do get it across midfield. Wasn't pretty, but they'll bring it in.
Rupert came in for a change. The perfect time. Ball came right to her as she got on the field.
And the turning bounce shot, wow, and how did that one get through? And the Colonials convert offensively to break their own scoring drought, and Robert Morris sneaking that one through, and it's a 12-6 game.
Bailey Christensen with the unsuspecting shot, surprising Maroney there. Kept it on the ground all the way in, bouncing in right through the wickets of Maroney. Christensen will take any goal she can get, and the Colonials will take that as well. 12-6 now, 13:32 to go in this quarter as they try to get back in this one. Halfway there.
Christensen, I thought she might let that shot go a little bit sooner when she was closer to the goal line, but then dragged it up high and surprised everyone, including goaltender Shannon Maroney, and got it past her to make it 12-6. And one step at a time. Colonials get the defensive stop, pick up the goal at the other end, and now look for the face-off win, but instead it's Canisius taking that one. Amanda Dulles, the freshman from New York, still with the ball after winning that draw. And now it'll be taken over by Paige Stachura. Swings it right side, and Canisius goes back to work offensively. Robert Morris, they really need to be just about perfect the rest of this game.
No room for error, as you just mentioned, with the Colonials keeping Canisius so far to the outside on this possession, but you'd have to think they're going to work their way in here shortly. Not a lot of long possessions either in this game for both teams. Basically getting quick inside almost every time, and as we see here.
Griffins score again, and Canisius pulling away. They lead it 13-6. Time certainly becoming a factor now with this deficit as they get it inside to Carolyn Nettie. And Nettie with the finish from 6 yards out.
Nettie collecting another goal, and Canisius matching RMU's tally that they just scored moments ago. That's one of the first times we've seen this game where either team has scored quickly right after another team. So the Canisius responding and making it 13-6 now, continuing that lead.
Another hat trick for a Canisius player as Nettie picks up her third of the game. And the Griffins trying to pull it in off the draw. Colonials with a chance. They lose it, but it's going to stay with Canisius. Mackenzie Bell had a shot at it. But the Griffins with the ball and firmly in control of this game. Non-conference action between Robert Morris and the Canisius Golden Griffins. Colonials coming off of a undefeated season in MAC play a year ago. They will start conference play this coming Wednesday, and that'll be right here at home. We'll have that broadcast for you. Detroit Mercy coming to town.
Colonials are probably looking forward to that conference game after a few tough non-conference opponents to start the year. Ohio State last week, Canisius here today. Canisius up by 7 currently.
A wide open player in front. Colonials throw it behind her, but she's able to come back and get to it and shoot and score. And a great job to stay with that play by Obi.
Jerica Obi taking that all herself there. Couldn't corral it. Again, another great opportunity right in the middle, but she didn't quit on the play. She hustled back, picked up the ground ball, came in, just ripped a shot off the right side of the field, beating Maroney to her left shoulder. Beautiful shot by Obi, the transfer from St. Bonaventure. And she was mentioned preseason from both head coach Katrina Silva and some of the other players on the team as being an important piece added to this team. I've seen a lot of freshmen come on this roster, but also Jerica Obi, a transfer, can add to this team and help them win some games.
That was a good play. Just to stay with that play after being unable to field that initial pass in the slot, comes back to chase one down. And a nice shot with 4 Canisius players chasing her. 13-7 game, and Robert Morris controls after the draw.
And for Obi, that's her second of the season. Scored last week against the Buckeyes. A promising start to her career here at Robert Morris.
Colonials, dangerous passing here as they bring it back in again. And they'll put it behind the net as they look to pick up back-to-back goals for the first time since early in the second half. And the triple team means Nelson gives it up. Going behind the net with it is Bell. Back in front of the score, and Robert Morris picks up another one. Back-to-back goals for the Colonials as they have a little something cooking now.
Gianna Anthony securing the hat trick. Chelsea Coleman, a beautiful pass right to her, and quick release after controlling it from Anthony, taking it high up on Maroney. Another huge goal, 13-8 now. Colonials finding some life here. Back-to-back goals, as you mentioned, for the first time in quite a while for the Colonials. So they're trying to inch back in, goal by goal.
It's a nice little box out by Bailey Christensen, too, on that play, just giving her that little bit extra room to shoot. The Colonials feeling a little bit better about things, but a long way to go here. 5-goal deficit, 10.5 minutes to go, and need another face-off win.
And with such a young team and a lot of players departing from last season, you're going to see some growing pains throughout a game and throughout the season. And the confidence is starting to build a little bit in this matchup. And yes, Canisius scored a couple quick goals just moments ago, but Colonial's doing a tremendous job responding after and not getting down on themselves, staying in it and staying productive, getting some goals.
And Canisius really, when they have control and when they have possession, they can really just eat clock to win this game if they choose. And right now they're doing just that, keeping it way outside and just going to play keep away and run clock. Clock not the friend of the Colonials right now. 5-goal game, under 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Penoyer up high. But Canisius sometimes has thrown it away up top, and they almost did right there. Tift unable to chase it down before it rolls out of bounds. So Stachura will put it back in play. And goes to Hoffman. This is a veteran team, or Canisius, and they play like it. The inside, and that shot goes wide. Good look for Salsa, and we haven't seen a lot of missed shots by Canisius today.
Yeah, great opportunity, point blank, and turning shot, cutting right in front of Keller. But shooting across her body, just couldn't find that corner that she was aiming for.
Canisius runs out of time, so it's Robert Morris ball, and here they come. Well, Canisius does run clock, but they don't get a quality shot off. And so RMU goes without saying they need to score on every possession right now. Tift up top with it. Fakes the shot, tries to get around the defense, does get through, play stopped though before she shot.
Colleen Tift there taking it all herself, drawing a whistle though on the play, cutting in, doing a nice job. But now she'll get an opportunity here with a free shot off to the side a little bit.
I have a feeling she's going to look to shoot. And she'll move in, cradle, shoot, ball is saved. And unable to find it momentarily was Maroney, but the ball stopped right between her feet. And she's able to pick it up and put it back into play for Canisius. And that's a big stop there for the Griffins. With the Colonials really needing to score on every possession because Canisius can just run clock.
And that's what they did last possession, taking it basically down to the wire on the shot clock. That's what Canisius is going to adjust to do probably for the rest of this ball game.
And when Coach Silva looks at this film, just going to see too many, far too many empty possessions. And Hoffman moves in, shoots and scores, and the Griffins stretch their lead once again.
The senior attacker, Megan Hoffman, just doing a nice job slicing right into the defense, taking that one herself from the outside and cutting in, and another perfect shot placement for Canisius. And some of these veteran players really stepping up for the Golden Griffins and collecting a few goals for them, helping them get to this 14-8 lead that they have right now.
Megan Hoffman, she's been big in this game. 5'6" senior from New York. And it's 14-8. And Canisius starting to feel it here. They have had a good start to the season, the Griffins. They win that back and forth battle with Bucknell last week. And now come here on the road to a place that not many teams are able to win at. No one's won here since Liberty back in February of 2019. I remember what life was like back then. Pre-pandemic days.
The season was cut short then for the Colonials after a few early season matchups. And that would be it in the NAC too. That'd be the last time they would take the field in NAC contests.
That was a strange time. I'll always remember being here doing a lacrosse game, and it started happening. I think, who was the school that first canceled their season? I can't remember. And we were wondering aloud here on the broadcast, like, is this happening?
Such a long time ago already.
Days later, the season was over, and just about every other season was over. So Colonials get back on the board here. Meanwhile, Gianna Anthony finds the net for Robert Morris. A good individual effort here. Beats the defender with moves inside, shoots high, and scores. Anthony, another one for Robert Morris.
It's 4 on the afternoon for Anthony. A nice individual effort there, cutting in, beating Maroney. Anthony off to a really, really strong start of the season, looking very promising for the Colonials. And when we're talking about players who have departed and players now having to step up, Anthony's a name to keep an eye on, as she has made some really, really nice plays offensively for the Colonials this afternoon.
Yeah, she's been a bright spot here today on a tough afternoon of lacrosse for Robert Morris. And meanwhile, first-year head coach Russell Allen's got to be really pleased with what he's seen out of his team so far. They were picked to finish 7th in the conference. They've been impressive here today.
And last year only going 2-7 in Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference play. So Canisius looking to start off 2-0, matching their win total from last year if they continue and close out this contest.
They're 6.5 minutes away from doing so with a 6-goal lead. Well, one thing's for sure for RMU, over the first 2 games, they have a lot to look at on film that they can work on. Nothing has come easy in these 2 games as Canisius gets back on the board, and Riley Davis, another one for the Griffins. As they've had a big day offensively. Colonials were able to silence them offensively for a good while late in the first half and into the second half. But other than that, Canisius has been rolling offensively here today, and they have been very impressive.
Another find right in front for Riley Davis, looking to continue her production from last season where she had 19 goals, 4 assists, 23 total points. She's been a solid player for Canisius over the past few years, or the past 2 years, being a sophomore this season, the 5'7" midfielder.
15-9. The Golden Griffins here on the road. The sun is out here. The wind has calmed down a little bit.
We've gotten a bit of everything in terms of weather so far this game.
Yeah, we certainly
had
have.
some snow, had some wind. The game was pushed back due to some of the weather. Now we got the sun out to finish out this game.
15-9 Canisius as they eat up clock here with possession in the Robert Morris zone to our left. And the Griffins, 5 minutes from going 2-0 on the year. And Robert Morris on the other side of things are looking like they're going to fall to 0-2, but will begin the real season conference play on Wednesday, a 1 o'clock start. We'll have that game for you, so time to take the afternoon off of work and tune into the MAC opener, Robert Morris and Detroit Mercy, this Wednesday. Not used to conference play starting so early in the year.
Yeah, early conference tilt, and I think the Colonials will take that after 2 really good opponents in the non-conference slate. And the Colonials selected first in the preseason poll for the Mid-American Conference, looking to repeat as regular season champions. And this year, a little bit of a different formatting. The MAC will have a postseason tournament.
Yeah, postseason tournament this year. No tournament a year ago. The bounce shot here hits the post and stays out of the goal. Shot taken by Obi. It'll be fun to have a tournament this year. It was kind of weird to have no conference tournament a year ago. And Obi stays with the play and scores with 4:12 to go. Makes it 15-10.
Obi, incredible footwork there, creating some space for herself, basically matched up and locked down by a Canisius defender, but was able to give herself an opportunity to get a shot off, and she bounced it in, getting it past Maroney. And Obi, another goal so far this season, has been a really, really good find by Katrina Silva and this coaching staff. Transfer again from St. Bonaventure, as she looks to be a factor this season on the offensive production side of things. again, a lot of players to replace, as we've mentioned throughout the broadcast. Obi and several other players looking to fill in those roles.
15-10, Canisius with 4:12 to go in the fourth quarter. And otherwise on campus, softball won again today, did I hear?
Yeah, softball out to, I believe, a 7-1 start.
What a start
on their record.
It's a great start for softball this year.
Some men's basketball action on campus tonight. Women's tomorrow. Women's 3-game win streak in the Horizon League. First time in their history doing that in their new conference.
Other news I was seeing today as I was surfing Twitter at airports was that Coach Derek Schooley, with the resurrecting men's hockey program, picking up some signees, his first signees for the 2023 season when Robert Morris men's hockey returns. Women's hockey will return that season as well, and head coach Logan Biddle hard on the recruiting trail as well as they start from scratch in one of the weirder things we've seen in collegiate sports with the shutting down of those programs and now being resurrected.
It'll be interesting to see how those teams are built. Schooley been around that program his entire career. Logan Biddle, new at the helm. Be very intriguing to see how they build those rosters up.
Logan Biddle, longtime assistant on the women's team. And then when the program was shut down last May, I believe, he went and took another job here locally, and but he seemed the perfect fit to take over that program. And sure enough, he will be the head coach, or is the head coach, and has another year and a half to recruit. And Coach Schooley, yeah, he's been here since the very beginning.
And both Schooley and Biddle were recognized this past week at on Thursday at the men's basketball game, giving them some recognition.
Robert Morris back on the attack here, trailing by 5. Final minutes here at the Joe, 2.5 minutes to go. And play is stopped. Boy, I remember like it was yesterday introducing Coach Schooley to the media, the local media here, to announce him as the inaugural head coach of the men's hockey program. And here we are, 18 years later? My goodness. Tough thing, though, boy. He really had that program so built up, and then
they were in a good spot.
But he was determined. There was no reason to think that program was coming back when Coach Schooley stayed here, fought along with all the grassroots efforts, and he wants to build the whole thing back up again.
And just across Robert Morris campus, a lot of teams playing very well, a lot of teams that deserve a lot of respect.
Inside and getting the goal, Mackenzie Bell, the sophomore from Maryland. Bell gets one for RMU as now they start to bunch some goals together here in the fourth quarter, and a little something to celebrate for Robert Morris.
Down by 4 now. It's going to take a little bit of a miracle with 2:27 left, but Mackenzie Bell sending them in the right direction. Bell, I think, is one of the more compelling players on this roster for the Colonials. Has a lot of speed, probably one of the faster players on the Colonials team. Finally notching a goal late in this contest. Had one last week against Ohio State. So look for her to use her speed throughout the season and be a player that can have a really huge impact on this team, just as a sophomore too.
15-11 game. Robert Morris within 4, but just 2.5 minutes to go in this one. And the draw will be scooped up by Canisius as Statura takes control of it and crosses midfield. Yeah, it's going to be one of the game of what-ifs when Coach Silva looks at it and the rest of the team. They had that opportunity when they cut it to 3 and had numerous offensive possessions and just either didn't get a shot at all or a clean look or good shot selection. Didn't get that extra pass. Turned it over. And that stretch was really the opportunity for Robert Morris. And you kept Canisius off the board for over 15 minutes, but you're not going to do that much longer than that.
And that was a huge span of this game where the Colonials really had a prime opportunity to climb back and make this their game to lose. But these non-conference games are the type of games you want to have early in the season where you may face some difficult teams like Ohio State, Canisius. We're going to use them, as we mentioned earlier, for film and taking a look at what they need to improve on. Because just in a few days, they start MAC play.
MAC play on Wednesday. And some of it, too, today, just not able to field passes cleanly, just some of the stuff that, the fundamentals that you look at and you just say, how did that happen? And you go back to work, and you get ready for Wednesday's action when it really counts in conference play. Second season in the MAC for RMU. On the men's side, they play in the Atlantic Sun as Canisius scores out of the free position. MacArthur, a big day for Canisius.
MacArthur getting in there quickly off the free position stance, able to maneuver to her right side and just beat Keller, who just really did not have an opportunity to get her stick there to make the save.
No, Tift was trying to catch up to make the shot a little bit tougher, just couldn't do so. And the Griffins back up by 5. It's 16-11.
And Canisius, with some of these goals throughout this contest, not necessarily compared to where RMU is doing a lot of quick releases, they've been more patient with the ball and finding the correct time to release it and beat Keller. They've done a really good job at that all afternoon.
Another draw at midfield here, right on that Colonial logo. With time running down here in the home opener of the 2022 season on a cold and windy day in Pittsburgh. And Colonials are going to fall to 0-2 on the young season. But again, conference play begins Wednesday, where RMU went undefeated a season ago. Under a minute to go. Robert Morris with the ball, trying to pick up another one here late. Tift has it dislodged, and it'll stay with her and Robert Morris. The clock at 52 seconds.
And at this point in this game, with the way it is and the score that it is, and similarly to last week, this is just a point in the contest where you start to work on some things that you want to improve on, especially where they weren't doing so well earlier in this contest. I mean, as we talked about, some of these bad passes and ground ball work, just a couple sloppy areas that they need to improve on moving forward and use the rest of this 40 seconds to play a little bit better defensively and work on some things, especially for these individuals to just get more confident, especially going into, as we keep mentioning, MAC play right around the corner here.
Be interesting to see how Canisius goes through the season as well. They've had a good start to the year, and they are going to end the Colonials' 17-game home winning streak here this afternoon. Robert Morris with 6 seconds to go, trying to race upfield to get one more, and they'll shoot it wide. And Jenna Irwin with a great look, but misses the net as time expires here in Pittsburgh, and the Golden Griffins are going to celebrate here at the Joe as they have defeated Robert Morris and ended that long winning streak that goes back to February of 2019. In RMU, we'll go back to work.
Jenna Irwin wanted one last word in this contest before Canisius got the final say in the victory, but a long, lengthy winning streak comes to an end today, 17 games, and they'll look to start a new one Wednesday.
Tough loss for Robert Morris. They were beaten by a very good team today, the Canisius Golden Griffins, but if you look for the silver lining here, a lot of correctable mistakes if you're Robert Morris.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes, a lot of passing errors, ground balls that just could have been collected. Canisius getting some favorable bounces early on in the game, but RMU basically just shooting themselves in the foot for most part of this game. And when you're taking on a team like Canisius, can't have that happen. But a few bright spots to take away. Gianna Anthony had 4 goals today. Jerica Obi, 2 for herself. A couple players stepping up so far early on in the season and noticing some players that might be important throughout the rest of this campaign.
Tough day at the Joe for the Colonials as they fall by a final score of 16-11 to the visiting Canisius Golden Griffins on a cold, windy day in Pittsburgh. And we hope you all enjoyed Robert Morris Women's Lacrosse from Robert Morris University. And for my partner Nathan Breisinger, I'm Garrow Von Dane. Our production staff, led by Dylan Thompson. We will see you on Wednesday for the MAC opener, 1 p.m. Robert Morris hosting Detroit Mercy. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody, and so long.